Hi everyone, in this video we are going to see reflect and proxy. They are two different things, but they work together, so we have to talk about them together. Reflect, as written here, is a namespace that contains static methods to use on object in JavaScript. The fact that reflect is a namespace can only mean to you that reflect isn't a constructor. We don't knew the reflect. We knew the proxy, but we don't knew reflect, and that's quite important. It provides a collection of static methods which we will use inside proxy, and we will see what proxy works. In fact, this is pretty much the only use of reflect. Historically, reflect has come out with the ES6, and it has basically centralized many different operations that we can use, or that we can already do with in other ways, but now we can use always only reflect. And maybe in some cases is even useful not just by using it as a proxy. Anyway, these are the 12 different static methods that reflect has. We are going to see like 3 or 4 because those are the really one that we really need, and we will see once we will talk with proxy that the proxy is built the same. The most important are get, set, and pretty much that's it. Of course, we can delete a property, we can define a property, we can get on keys, so we will see how it is used, and apply works for functions. Now let's have a look in practice so we can understand. We have this object which his name is Jovi and blah blah blah. If I wanted, for example, to log the name of object, we just do object.name, right? I can do the same thing using the reflect. .name. The first one is the object target, and the second one is the property key. Okay, as you can see, they work the same, and that's what we wanted. The same would be if, for example, if I want to set a property, I use, for example, object.name. I settle it simply by doing like this, and we will see that the name logged will be Mattia. Otherwise, we can even set the property. We can set the property using the reflect method. In this case, we accept 3 parameters. The first one is the target, the second is the property key, and then we need to pass the property value. As you can see, it has changed Mattia and Marco. Another important possibility that we have is to use own keys for reflect, and this will return us all the different keys that are inside obj. Another static method worth mentioning is reflect.defineProperties, with which we target the object, then we define a new property, and last we give the property a value, which has to be an object, not just a string. Like I don't write for 15, that's not correct. It has to be an object that has a value of 15. but also you could decide if it's enumerable, writable, and configurable. Maybe you don't know what these things are. You should check it out. It's not the scope of the lesson. Anyway, in this way you just define the property. It's the same thing as using object.define property, but this is part of the reflect box, so to say, no? If I run the code, we will find another property. Same way we can delete property using the delete property method. There is really not much, is banal. And so up to now you are probably thinking that reflect is just a theoretical thing that is not absolutely useful. And to understand why we need reflect, we need to talk about proxy. Okay, so proxy objects allows us to create an object that can be used in place of another one, and through that we can redefine fundamental operation that we can do on that, and the operation that we can redefine are the same as we were using on reflect. Same 12 operations, which now we will call traps. So we still have our object, and we want to define a proxy for it. So we create a object2, which is a new proxy, and inside our proxy we give it the target, which is our obj, and then we give it what is called the handler. So we can just call it handler, and what the handler is an object of functions that we define and we will use in order to rewrite the operations that we want. For example, as always, the first two are get and set. Maybe you have already seen getter and setter. We are doing the same thing, but we can do more than that. We can do getter and setters using the proxy, but we can perform other more complicated operations. So to define a get property in our handler, we give it is a function that has a target and a prop. So the target will be obj, and the prop will be what we are searching. For example, I'm trying to access name of obj. So if prop is equal to name, then I don't want it to be shown. So I can say, in this case, I return false. Very simple, no? Otherwise, else, I can return target.prop. And this will do exactly what you think. As you can see, it is returning false because we have explicitly said this. But if I ask him another property key, it will return the property key through our proxy. Of course, I can perform more complex operation. For example, I could say, okay, if I want property name, I could even return another thing. No, so I could return in spite of Jovi, I can return Tom. So if someone is searching for something, I can cheat him and say that our Jovi name is Tom. Also here I'm returning target.prop. I could use, as I said, the reflect.get, for example. Right now probably it seems to be pretty useless. Actually we have to use the spread operator, exactly, with arguments, and we achieve the same result as before. It seems to be pretty useless, but if you have a look at the code now, and it will be always like this. if you look at the code now, I'm inside my get trap. I'm using reflect.get, and I'm going to is going to be like this all the times. If I use now, I create a set trap. I will use the reflect.set inside it most probably. So this is the meaning of reflect. We use it inside our traps to perform some sort of operation, and many times is more convenient when you are trying to create complex logics, not more complex than this fake logics that I'm new doing. It becomes useful. Not all the time. Sometimes we can do other things. Anyway, coming to set is really pretty much the same as get. Actually, we need to pass in a value to it, and we are going to do pretty much you can write whatever you want basically, no? But in this case we are intercepting a write operation. Before the get performs intercept a read operation, this is a write operation. In this case, if prop is equal to name, I could return, I could log console.log anything I want, access denied for example, and then return false, which will break, not allow the content that someone wants to write inside our code. And here we could here I'm going to equal our target prop to value, and then return true, so that the operation get confirmed, and we can see that is working, because if I assign object chew.id equal to another value, as you can see is retrieved the other value. I want to make you think that this logic, of course, is simple, but not so instant to understand. Me too, it took a little time. We could write the same thing using the reflect.set, and actually is much simpler, because here I'm going just to write reflect prop value, exactly like is written here, and it will work the same. Look. So as you can see, reflect.something does its own job at times. Also, if you want to have a look that if I try to change the value of name, it will force me, it will print me on the screen access denied, as you can see. Then let's see other possibilities that we have. For example, if we can force not to define other properties, force not to delete a certain property, and lie if some property that you have settled are exist or not. I want to show these few features to you. Now I just write it and then we talk about it. Okay, so let's see this free property one by one. I commented out the other two because otherwise they might cause some issues. Delete property. If property is equal to rest, return false. So now, if I try to rest, is a function that I created before. Let's see if actually the function is deleted or not. As you can see, function rest is remained here and is written access denied. So we can successfully avoid a function to be deleted, a property to be deleted. Another possibility has If a property is called rest, return false. So if I call console log obj2.rest in rest in obj2 okay, now I should I don't delete it. Rest in obj2, it should return true. This is what this command should return. Is returning false, so we are lying to the person that is looking after our proxy and saying that our property doesn't exist. Last possibility that I wanted to show you, define property. So in this case, on the define property method, I return false, which means that if I attempt to use the object.define property method and I pass object2 and then any kind of key and then the object which will have a value of and enumerable, writable, blah blah blah. In this case, it will throw an error. As you can see, it's throwing an error because we are actually causing the error. If we want to return true, we can use the reflect. We can return true. Let's see if what happens if I return true. Is not access denied comes from another thing here. From here is not returning any troubles, which is good. Then I console.log object2, and theoretically we should see we should find another property which is not here. I don't know why. Anyway, because generally this define property is clearly not completed. I just started to write it. We can use the reflect.define property, and that's exactly what everybody should use. Inside our define property trap, we use the define property and we pass pretty much all the same parameters that we have here. So there is not much to think about. And now I changed some things. To be frank, I don't even know what I'm doing. But if I try to access obj.location, for example, probably is there. So the things are working correctly, as you can see. But what's probably what is clearly everybody's thinking right now, I think. Okay, I created all this proxy, very nice, very complicated, but actually our OBJ, the original OBJ, is in the same scope as the proxy. So I can just access OBJ. That's true, even though maybe I will expose only the proxy. I will use obj2 inside my code and not obj, but still what I'm doing is no sense, is not is not particularly useful. Is correct. To solve this problem, we can use the IFE, the immediately invoked function expression. Let's see how to do it. So an IFE starts like this. Inside here we are going to call it obj3, and inside here we are going to give it a function which will pass obj as a parameter, and here in this second parameter, which will be the parameter passed with the name of obj here, we give it the object, which now will not have any name. There is no name and is not accessible. We can access it only through this function. So that's the goal. And inside our function we create pretty much I can copy and paste all my functionalities here. I can create, for example, I can place this handler all this handler here, I copy it and paste it inside our function obj. Okay, it's quite confusing, I know, but now we have our handler inside our function obj. We have our object, which will be passed as parameter to this function, and then must we return a new proxy, which will have obj as target, because that's the parameter that we have, and handler as handler. Actually, there is even a third it doesn't matter. There is another parameter which is called the receiver, but nobody uses it, so I just skipped it. And now we can access these values only through the proxy, because I can access obj3, I defined it, is a variable, which is the immediately invoked function expression, but this has no particular name, so we cannot access it. So I can console.log obj3.name. Yes, I can do it. And what will return is Tom, because I wrote in the traps, I wrote my traps, nobody knows it, and what I will always use inside in my code is obj3. Okay, so this was Reflect and Proxy. They goes hand in hand, as I said, and of course there is much more about proxies. You can create much more complicated logics, and maybe right now you are thinking, yes, okay, they are related, but this Reflect is not particularly useful. When you create more complicated logics, you will have to use the reflect.something, otherwise you will not be able to succeed into creating your sort of algorithms. Okay.